The following vodcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this vodcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit www.gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Well, hello and welcome to the originally named Finding Winners, a brand new vodcast with myself, Emma Freedman, and Ally Mosley, the girls, the sisters doing it for themselves.
They finally let us have a show together, Em. How long have we been asking for this for? We didn't come up with a name, albeit I think it's very original, Finding Winners. But what else would we rather do on a Thursday, right?
Talking racing, getting prepared for a massive Saturday ahead this weekend at Flemington and at Royal Randwick. Before we dive into this week's racing, let's reflect on finding a winner last Saturday in the Golden Rose, because you liked Bivart heading into the Golden Rose.
So I can't take credit because I didn't find him, albeit I stuck with him for his first two runs. I was all on the Hippo train. Hippo and I were talking about him and what he was like and how he'd progressed. I jumped off when I thought he couldn't run 1400, and there's been a little bit of chatter about this morning, Em. So we have to preface this with a conversation that we've already had with Hippo. So he was on his sweat walk this morning, which in itself is quite amusing because Hippo and I live very close to each other.
And he's often very astute, I hear, at noticing if there's been changes in the vicinity of your residence.
Doesn't miss a trick. So so my pony is also very close, and he says to me, "I think someone was riding your pony the other day," and I said, "I hope not."
Wasn't
and he
you,
says,
was it?
"Well, I was going to call you and let you know someone might have stolen your horse, or he'll notice a new plant or a tree." So he's very, very perceptive, our friend Hippo.
And he's one of the best jocks, I think, out there for getting feedback, not only for trainers, but in our job as well. You'll often hear Hippo say post-race, like, he'll win next start, and he will. Like, he's just got a great handle as to what's going on with the horses he's riding. Not so much with Bivart on the weekend, though, because in your post-race losing jocks comments, what did he say after the run to the Rose?
Well, so I do beaten jocks, just for context, and he said to me, "I query whether he'll run the 14, which we've since spoken to Hippo about. And he said it wasn't necessarily the query about whether he'd run the 14, but more so that if he cops any interference, if he cops a bump, if anything starts to challenge him, he gets a bit goey and over races. So he said it was more that, in context, if anything went wrong, he probably wouldn't see out of 14, but nothing went wrong because of his ride.
Yeah.
Was perfect.
Jump, lead, let him win.
What more could you want?
The perfect way to be wrong about your assessment whether a horse will get the 7 furlongs despite circumstances is to come out and win a stallion making Group 1 straight afterwards.
Yep.
So congratulations to Adam Hieronymus, Chris Waller and all of the team at Godolphin involved with Bivart. Let's get into this week's racing, starting with the TAB Turnbull Stakes over the 2,000 metres at Flemington. Fascinating contest for a multitude of reasons, because you've got form coming out of the Trot and Canter Maccabi Diva, the Underwood, where we saw that unreal performance of Sir Delius, who anywhere she's just singing Sir Delius from the rooftops.
I think
at the
Gay
moment.
might be sleeping in Sir Delius's box at the moment.
And then you've got the Naturalism, a huge effort with Half Yours winning for Tony and Calvin McAvoy last start, and he's on a path to a Caulfield Cup. Does Via Sistina, the short-priced favourite, bounce back?
I hope so. I really hope so, because I love when good horses win, but I think it could be a changing of the guard.
You think the stablemate in Aliana might have her say on Saturday?
I do. And I sort of hope not, for the reason that I really want to see Via remain as a champion. And she always will be, of course. She's champion racehorse of the year. But I just have this sense of timing with Aliana. I think she's a very, very good filly.
One of the talking points this week about the Turnbull Stakes has been the coach's call.
Yes.
Chris Waller pulling the strings at his giant stable, which spans 3 states, saying that James McDonald, yes, I know you would have liked to have ridden Autumn Glow in an Epsom and taken a nice ride in the Flight Stakes and maybe gotten a top weight ride in a Metropolitan, but you are going down to ride Via Sistina in the Turnbull Stakes. I mean, anyone would be very delighted with that ride.
And the thing, you know what is, I look at James sometimes and I think to myself, I wouldn't want to make these calls. It's almost worse. I get decision fatigue. Even this morning, I couldn't decide what I was doing. You know, I mean, that's me to a T, right? I'm typical type B or something, or whatever the personality is, where you're unorganised. But I think probably ultimately it was a blessing for that decision to be made. But something that we do forget just on James, did you remember this time last year he had that patch where he just couldn't get that 100th Group 1?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden gets into carnival time, and we are already in carnival time, and he just flies. And that could be exactly what's about to happen.
Gets onto a roll. Of course, Autumn Glow was meant to run in the Flight Stakes last year, and then she had the bone chip. So that was looking to be the 100th. And then it was a few weeks later, third consecutive Cox Plate. So yes, this weekend could start the roll of wins for James. So Via Sistina hard to beat. Inside gradient, God, she can draw the inside.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's the best for her. That's my query. I think I could poke holes in her, but every time I've tried to poke holes in her, she's come out and won.
So Delius, does he continue his winning streak? Craig Williams retains the ride. We'll ride him when it comes to the Cox Plate and also the Melbourne Cup. Over the 2,000 metres and a wide gate, where does he get to in the run?
I think he's there to have, for lack of a better word, a look at Flemington, and that's what Adrian Bott said this morning at track work. He probably was a bit, not lost at Caulfield, but it was just probably a bit tight for him, and he didn't love it. He thinks that getting around Flemington will only be to his benefit, a bigger, wide open track, and he'll be able to have a good feel of that. So that's exactly what he said this morning. So I'd be keen to watch him on the weekend.
Can I throw up one at a price, maybe for each way players, to throw in your multis or just something as a place? Golden Path.
Yes, absolutely.
His last start effort at Caulfield was unbelievable. He has hit a purple patch of form. I don't think he's a true weight for age performer, and I don't think Mick Price and Michael Kent Jr. do either. And congratulations to Michael Kent Jr.
Baby
and
time?
Ali. Baby was born today, I believe.
It's a baby boom.
Yeah, congratulations to them. But I don't think he's up to that class of horse, but maybe Johnny on the spot and just has found the right race at the right time. We're not at grand finals yet.
That's right.
And that is when these horses can pick. Because as you said, a horse like Sir Delius, he's got much bigger targets, as does Aliana likely, as does Via Sistina. Although I do agree with you. Denise Martin, Star Thoroughbreds and Aliana, there is a sense of timing third up 2000.
Yep, that's how I'm feeling.
Okay.
That's how I'm reading it. But with that being said, and I do preface that by saying, I love Via. Everyone loves Via, and everyone wants to see her win. We all want to see champions win, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. And she is a champion. You look at her record, 9 Group 1s, and
we can call her a
10th.
champion. There's always conjecture about whether you can call horses champions or not. We can.
Yeah. We'll move on to the TAB Epsom over the 1,600 metres at Royal Randwick, a time-honoured race over the Royal Randwick Mile. And I want to talk to you about Autumn Glow because in terms of punter support and what our markets have been framed here at TAB, a lot of people are looking at her like she is undefeatable, and she might be. I just want to throw some things up to you, though, because
I like this.
There are some barriers for her to overcome over the weekend, and one of them is the barrier. So she's drawn the widest. She's got gate 14. Now, that typically hasn't been an inhibitor in the Epsom in the past. Only 3 mares have won the Epsom in the last 30 years. She's never been to the mile. She's never run in Group 1 company. And in terms of her weight, I think she's been poorly treated with 54.5 kilos. You look at other Group 1 winning mares to compete in the Epsom over the last 30 years. Hungry Heart, a 2-time Group 1 winner, she got 52. Fangirl, she won a Vinery, she got 54. Madame Pomeroy, she won 1,000 guineas, she got 51.5. Autumn Glow, yes, she's undefeated, but she's got 54.5 kilos. No mare has ever won the Epsom carrying 4.5 kilos above the minimum. Having said all that, I think she's just different class and a very special animal in terms of her versatility, her ability to adapt, her demeanour, her personality, her aura, so to speak.
Yeah, she does. She's got an aura, a presence.
And everyone who gets off her says,
I'm sticking with her.
I am in love with her. Let me marry Autumn Glow.
Including James, who's going to Melbourne.
Correct, but Kieran's the same.
That's right.
Gets to ride her on the weekend. So even though, I mean, there's a lot in her favour in terms of her quality and her class, but it's not a done deal in terms of some of those stats.
It's absolutely not. And I always like looking for horses that can win at odds. It's always an edge I like to take. You know what I'm like? I love to have a little multi-bet play, place play. And I just think there's a stack of horses that are ticking along under the radar because all we've talked about is Autumn Glow.
Okay, are some of them a horse like Chalwolf, who I think we're wondering where he's at. He had that little setback last start. Hearing from Joe Pride this week, it wasn't a full-blown bleed. There's nothing to worry about there, but they tried to ride him closer and it just didn't work out whatsoever. Or is it a horse like Willie Dewitt, who's now being set on a mild 2,000-metre path? Of course, he won a New Zealand Derby over the, a mile and a half. Who is it for you that you're looking that has been ticking over nicely?
So there's two M.
Okay.
And they both start with E. So I think you can guess where I'm heading with this.
We've only been doing this show for 11 minutes and I think we need a new segment.
Yep.
Okay, and the new segment is horses Ali will never give up on despite the lack of victories.
I'm so loyal, Em. I'm so loyal.
You're so loyal. And I
don't know
the
what's wrong with me.
The first one is NCAP.
Well, and I promised, okay, so just to chat about this as well, I promised his owners last week that I wouldn't tip him.
Oh, what are you doing?
I know, I'm a mock. Well, I'm not going to tip him. I'm just going to say I hope he runs well, but I'm not going to tip him for everyone's sake.
So El Costello with blinkers back on.
That's right. So he's had a tick-over trial. He's got Andy Adkins aboard. Andy Adkins is riding out of his skin. So I used to live with Andy and I've watched everything that he's been through with his setbacks. He's had a stack of injuries. I really feel he's hitting his form at the moment. He's got no weight. He's got a good draw. I loved what he did first up off a seriously long time away.
Yeah.
You know, we hadn't seen him since he ran into Victoria Derby. He'd had a setback. He's a 4-year-old entire. So he's just this beautiful beast of an animal, and I feel as though he is the one that's been overlooked.
Okay, and Joe Pride, I mean, he's getting a few of these Godolphin horses at the moment. Of course, El Costello, ex-Anthony Cummings. I think that's really interesting for you. I think Autumn Glow does win, but the other horse I'm keen to maybe look at each way, and I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but Swift Falcon with blinkers on. I don't think he'll win. But I'm keen to look at him with the blinkers on today. But boy, he has been a frustration for punters.
Hasn't he just?
Over the past little while. Let's get into the other two quick Group 1s on Saturday at Randwick. Okay, so the Flight Stakes. It's the final leg of the Princess Series for the 3-year-old fillies. We're over the mile this weekend. And I tell you what, you want a training partnership in form at the moment? Let me give you Michael Freedman and Tommy Berry in all of their glory. So from the start of the 24-25 season, in stakes races, Tommy has had 24 rides for Michael for 8 wins. That's a strike rate of 33%. And then in all races, 67 rides for 17 wins, which is a strike rate of 25%, which actually exceeds the partnership of Chris Waller and James McDonald for the same period of time.
Very interesting. I actually mentioned that stat to Michael Freedman this morning. I said, a one little birdie named Emma Freedman mentioned in my ear that you guys are shooting off the charts at the moment. And he said, oh, I bet she did. Was she looking towards apocalyptic? Of course, you're a part owner, Em.
I have a little 1%.
A little share? Better than any of us.
Well, she's a very special filly. And based off her run last start in the T-Rose where she won sitting 3 wide the trip, can you see anything clawing back to beat her over the mile?
No, and I normally don't love a shorty, and I think I really like her this weekend. You can't not.
You can't not. And looking at the form of the Flight over the past few years, very few come out of alternative races. So we've got the bottom 3 in the field, Reflect, Magenta Skies, which is one of Michael's as well, and Lighthouse Lass.
He gave her a good rap this morning.
She comes out of a maiden, though, to win a Group 1. I mean,
and he just thought out to the mile and further. He's got bigger targets for her over the Flemington Carnival.
So the rest come out of that T-Rose and out of the
Queen
Furious.
of Clubs, I thought, was the other one each way who could run right into it. So maybe even you could look at a horse like Apocalyptic and then Queen of Clubs to run a really nice race.
And you'd think that Queen of Clubs as well is the kind of filly that might be able to figure in a spring champion going forward or maybe even an Oaks.
And she hated the ground. So when James rode her, and he doesn't often ride for Gary Portelli, he said she hated that heavy ground the day that he was on her, but she still kept trying. So she'll be back on top of the speed. We've got a really warm week. They've been watering the track every night. I was out there this morning. Beautiful conditions. We couldn't ask for a better TAB Epsom day. She'll be right there.
All right, final Group 1. I can't believe we've got 4 of them to get through on our very first show of finding winners is the Metrop. Let's quickly touch on it because it's a hard race.
So hard.
Mars got 5, Waller's got 5 in it. 10 runners between them. Of course, Waller had 6 runners last year. He ended up winning with Land Legend. Very hard for a toppy to win this race. I'd be looking down the bottom of the page. Lightweights, horse on the up, progressive stayer. Which way are you looking?
I'm going with Athabaskan.
This is another one that needs to belong in this file, and I'll throw in one more, Our Gold Hope as well.
Oh, yeah, she's in there. Am I that predictable? I am, aren't I? I really am.
You really are. But we talk that much that now I just know the way you work.
You know me so well, and this is why they gave us a show called Finding Winners.
So Athabaskan for Tom Charlton and John O'Shea was on a path to a Melbourne Cup last year. That didn't go to plan.
That's right. So I'm hoping that the plan can bounce back this year. But John O'Shea and Tom Charlton said this morning that when you look back what he's done this prep, it doesn't read the way that he's been racing. So it just hasn't panned out the way that they'd hope, probably in terms of what it looks like on the form guide. Yep. But he's been running really well. And I did ask Tom this morning whether the track might be a bit firm, and he said no, he'll be fine.
Oh, okay. So there's a nice one at odds for you to throw in for the Metropolitan over the 2,400 metres on Saturday. Some final segments to leave us with. Let's go to a new little segment that we're going to introduce here on Finding Winners each week. The lost and found basket. So
now, where did this theory come from, Em?
I have a 6-year-old son in primary school. He's in kindergarten, and I have been to find his sun hat more times than I wish to admit in the lost and found basket. So I drew inspiration from that.
I love it.
Experience in my
Sounds
life.
like me as a kid.
Yeah, you are not dissimilar, you two little blondies. A horse that is lost and needs to be found, and a horse that you have found.
Yes.
That you do want to follow. Can I throw out my horse to lost?
Yeah,
and it
I'm
pains me to do this. It's nepotism. I do think this horse is lost, and I know there has been a lot of discussion this week as to how that Golden Rose was run and won on speed, firm deck, but he broke the track record. Nepotism, what is he wanting? Is he wanting a mile again? Is he wanting 2,000 metres, or is he just plain out disappointing on the weekend?
Maybe a mile or further, I think. So at the moment, I agree with you. He is lost, but that doesn't mean that he's lost for good.
No, you can always be found.
So they can always be found. And that's the best part about this segment going forward, Em. They can always be found, like Will's sun hat.
Yeah. Don't hate us for putting horses in the lost file, because he's just one that I wouldn't be jumping on next start. That's, I think, the point we have to make is that I think they might need to tinker with, his race pattern doesn't help.
That never helps.
Drawing wide doesn't help, I know. Leaders dominated tracks don't help, but I'd just be holding off on nepotism, even though he's a Group 1 winner, until I see just a tick more from him, because finishing tail end of the field in a Golden Rose, he's going to have to show us more. Who has been found? And I'm not just talking about Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound.
Yes, I love that.
I once was lost and now I'm found. Who did you find?
So I found, look, he's probably a bit of an obvious one. And there were 2 out of the race. So there was Farnacle and Beedman. Everyone, I feel like, found Farnacle. But I think Beedman's the forgotten horse here. We saw what he presented like first up. He was pretty burly. And Pete Snowden said that. He said, I don't have him anywhere near screwed down. He's had quite a bit of time off. He won by some 8.5 lengths on the Gold Coast. It was huge. And then they could have pushed on, but they elected to stop with him. They thought about pushing on to a Queensland Carnival. And they decided not to, because they've aimed him up at a Coolmore. Okay. So I had a chat to Pete this morning, and he said, look, it's pretty obvious that he was pretty burly. He's carrying
burly
condition.
Meaning big.
Burly meaning big. A bit tubby. Not tubby. Is that even the way to put it? That's probably doing him a disservice. But even in the trials, I think he had a pretty good blow.
I think
James said he had a good blow when he came back in the other day.
Yes, I think he just needs racing.
Yeah.
And the Coolmore's still not, we're still, a month and a bit away from that Flemington Carnival. So I think, you can follow him with some confidence. He's got some class about him.
Oh, he absolutely does. And he's a stunning animal. He's just a beautiful individual. So don't jump off him, although I think a few have.
2-year-olds, you are a guru when it comes to spotting the babies. And we've got the gym crack and the breeders at Royal Randwick on the weekend. Which babies can you steer our listeners into? Some of those trial wins, especially the Waterhouse Bot team, who always dominate those official 2-year-old trials, but eviction notice looks like one out of the box.
Absolutely, and that's what Adrian Bott said this morning. So I tried to just pin Adrian down and say, I'm your Huckleberry, eviction notice.
And this is in the breeders.
What do we think? This is in the breeders, of course. They've got 3. He said eviction notice. I said, I'm your Huckleberry. And I said, you're the trainer. I should probably listen to you and stop coming up with my own opinions. But just even chatting to Hippo this morning, he did say that I'm your Huckleberry will be physically a really nice horse with even a little bit of time. But he could be there. He could do it all on ability, and I'm banking on that.
So the impressive thing about eviction notice in his trial was that he just pinned the lids.
Yeah, which is half the battle with the 2-year-olds.
Half the battle. So he's got gate speed, he's got race smarts to be out, and we know the Waterhouse Bot team, that's what their customary kind of trademark thing about their 2-year-olds is he can jump, he can lead, he can obviously set a tempo as well. He won that trial by 7 lengths. It won't be as easy on Saturday.
But if you look at the times, there was very little, I think it was point something of a second between him and I'm Your Huckleberry. Tim Clark is a lot lighter than Hippo as well. So that's another thing that I just wanted to
like
just, keep that in the back of your mind.
The fillies in the gym
So
crack?
it might have looked more impressive, but was it? So
Okay.
look at your Huckleberry. That's who I'm looking at. In the gym crack again. So this Shiki. I like the name. I really like that name. She's quick enough to barrier. So I saw her jump out. I went out with Gay the other morning. And she gave me...
Oh, this would have been good.
She gave me some insight onto how important it is that they can jump. And that's exactly what she was quick.
So you're tipping a Waterhouse bot gym crack breeders double?
Well, I'm not.
Okay, right.
Just to say this, she is favourite and deservedly so.
Yep.
But I thought physically the most impressive filly of the morning was Masvingo for Björn Baker. And I think he's
In the
had...
Ridgemont colours.
Yep, and I think he's had a taste of that 2-year-old success with OLA, and he just wants some more. And I can see why.
He wants to get those babies going early.
Yep, and I think Masvingo probably is the one again who will probably only get better with time, but I really feel as though she's the class.
That is great insight because a lot of people at home wouldn't have necessarily spotted those 2-year-old trials. So you are all over it. A couple to follow into those 2-year-old events, the first ones of the season this weekend. 4 Everest slots remain because Inglis, they don't have Skybird anymore. She's been put out to the paddock by Mitch Freedman with a couple of different niggling injuries. So 4 slots to go. We've got the running of the Premier, the Gill Guy. Who deserves those final slots for the likes of Coolmore, Godolphin, Inglis and Mulberry Racing? Any name that you want to throw up? Do they push on with Bivark there or do they wait to see Tentyrus in the Danehill this weekend, the other 3-year-old for Anthony and Sam Freedman?
Well, you would probably have a bit of an inside word on Tentyrus. His jump out was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So they want to go to a Coolmore with him.
And Tentyrus. That's what we're...
That's what Andy Mackey said.
So now I'm saying Tentyrus.
But Andy Mackey, who's the boss of Godolphin this week, has constantly referred to him as Tentyrus.
And I heard Jason Walsh do the same, so let's listen to them.
Tentyrus. We need to improve some of this naming because it's very, very tricky, isn't it? So I think he's on the way to a Coolmore, but... Hearing from Sam, he'd be happy to do a Danehill into an Everest into a Coolmore. I mean, that's aggressive placement.
Ooh.
And the fact that Mark Zara jumps off the undefeated horse in the Danehill to jump on Tentyrus's back, I think that says a lot about the kind of ability he has.
And obviously Godolphin don't have to rush.
Oh,
It's
they've
their
got...
slot. Doesn't matter. They can wait. They can take all the time in the world. But I would probably go with Bivark 14 back to 12.
Yeah, and the fitness. And we know that at Everest is run almost like a 1,400 metres high pressure race.
And why do we not have more 3-year-olds? This is what I was chatting about during the week. Where's all the 3-year-old choices coming in? Surely you could find something like even a Skyhook. And I know I think Richie Callender had mentioned that this week, a Skyhook. He's been overlooked,
Yeah.
He's been running huge races.
Jetabil running the Premier for Mulberry Racing. They'd be looking for him to put his best foot forward. We get to see hopefully Private Harry improve second up into the preparation as well to maintain that
spot.
Everest position. But yes, plenty of water to go under the bridge when it comes to the TAB Everest, and we're just 2 weeks away. Thank you for joining us on Finding Winners first edition, done and dusted. Hopefully we did find you a few winners, and we'll see you again next week.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.